Zero Trust. We're going to be talking definitions, practicalities, and challenges. Shahzad Merchant, you're with Gigamon. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me here today.
It's our pleasure. Zero Trust is a term that we've been hearing a lot about. What are some of the common misunderstandings, maybe misapprehensions, though, that you're seeing?
Certainly. That's a great question, by the way. I think one of the biggest misconceptions around Zero Trust is that it's not a product. Zero Trust is really a journey. It's a framework, it's a model, it's an architecture, it's anything but a product. It's a journey for organizations to embark. And one of the things we're seeing out there today is the intersection of digital transformation and Zero Trust is something that's not very well understood. Many organizations are embarking on their own journeys of digital transformation, which really involves them coming out with a whole new set of applications. And in that journey, security has been an afterthought. And what we're seeing is now there's beginning to a new urgency is arising around incorporating security front and center of the digital transformation journey, and Zero Trust is coming in as a way to go do that.
So in terms of this discussion, let's just focus on digital transformation for a second. You said it involves apps, but it's organizations attempting to rethink all sorts of things, right? I mean, business processes,
Absolutely.
For example. So huge projects,
Absolutely.
Oftentimes, each with their own stages.
Absolutely.
And so layering Zero Trust obviously sounds like it might add some complexity, but also it's a necessity?
It is absolutely a necessity. When you sit and think about how organizations are thinking about digital transformation, necessarily, for example, cloud is an integral part of that, the hybrid cloud. And this journey fundamentally breaks our previous assumptions around security. Let me make this very concrete. Today, many organizations have applications that are sitting in the cloud. Software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. And users can access those applications from the intranet on the company's network or from the internet through a hotspot, through 4G, maybe in the future 5G. And yet today, many organizations still have this implicit assumption of trust that if a user or device is connecting from the intranet, it is more secure. That same user or device could have been on the internet in a very insecure location, on an insecure hotspot, right? And yet there is an assumption that if he's coming from the internet, it's more secure. That's essentially what Zero Trust is attempting to get rid of, that implicit assumption.
Is there an easy way to boil down the journey that organizations need to go through with Zero Trust?
Yeah, and this is a challenge that most organizations face today on the Zero Trust journey, right? Which is, where do you start, and how do you get to the desired outcome? And I would say it's actually not such a complex journey, right? You start with the very basics, right? The first thing is you identify what are the assets on your infrastructure. Assets being users, devices, and applications. Multiple ways to go do that. You can look at network visibility as one way to go doing that. Once you've identified the assets on your infrastructure, then you can put policies in place for doing things like authentication and access control. And then the third step of that journey is you put in place a continuous monitoring framework, right? So you take it step by step, and you can eventually get to the desired outcome.
So these are some of the practical ways that you go about it. Are there challenges associated with these that organizations need to beware?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is really identifying what are the assets on your infrastructure and what are they doing. Many organizations have so many legacy devices, applications, and as they move forward with digital transformation, people do not really understand what all those legacy applications are doing, right? So getting visibility, I think, is the number one challenge and perhaps the starting point to the journey of Zero Trust.
I feel like I've served up the answer to this question already, but benefits. What are some of the benefits organizations are getting, and also lessons learned as they've attempted to do this and then gotten through to the point where they are doing it?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. One of the biggest benefits in my mind, and this is something that is not very well understood, although it's a very powerful benefit, is the consistency of user experience, which is no matter where a user is accessing applications, they get a consistent experience. Once you move towards a Zero Trust model, and you have essentially eliminated this implicit trust between an intranet and an internet, the user experience is consistent no matter where he's accessing the applications from. That's number one. The second benefit is a significant simplicity and reduction in complexity of how you do security. You don't have to do security separately for the intranet and separately for the internet. You have one consistent model and framework for doing it for both, right? So significant benefits in both of those dimensions.
And that would, in theory, keep the intranet and the intranet security more up to date, because I think historically maybe one has lagged at the expense of others.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Now, how is Gigamon helping organizations make this Zero Trust journey, if you will?
So Gigamon is focused on providing visibility. And we are the premier vendor that provides visibility by looking at network traffic. In the past, the network traffic has actually traditionally been a phenomenally rich source of content and telemetry data, but there has not been an easy way to get access to that. So Gigamon, with its visibility fabric, actually provides a very easy way to get access to all of the telemetry data. So using the network telemetry data, you can easily identify applications, users, devices, all of the access patterns in between, and based on that, you can put in place policies for zero trust.
Shahzad, thanks so much for your time and insights today.
Thank you for having me here today. Appreciate it.
I've been talking digital transformation and zero trust with Shahzad Merchant of Gigamon. I'm Matthew Schwartz with Information Security Media Group. Thanks for joining us.